Good evening and welcome to our news programme on Saturday the 13th of February. And first of all, an apology for those of you that normally join us on Facebook. Hopefully you're getting the message to say link through to us on YouTube. As happens with the wonderful Facebook, I think they've done an update since the last time we broadcast, which means when we go live the link doesn't work. So the only way to rectify it is to uninstall the software and reinstall it. Of course, once we've gone live it's a bit too late to do that, so I do apologise for any difficulties receiving us on our Facebook feed tonight. But if you're watching us on YouTube or Twitter Periscope, you should be working fine, and hopefully those on Facebook have got the message that has been posted up to say please link through to YouTube. So, in the news this week, confirmed cases and hospitalisations for coronavirus have continued to fall, which is good news. It is good news, and whilst it is good news, it's important to remember these figures have been falling from a very high level, and there's still a way to go. And the rates are still much higher than when we went into the second lockdown in November. Public Health Dorset have said they still need every single person in Dorset to play their part in bringing the cases down to a low level. The latest figures, and some of these are figures in the week because the latest ones today have not been released. 555 cases in Dorset of COVID over the last 7 days, 270 people in hospital, and unfortunately still 40 deaths in the last 7 days. On a very positive note, the vaccination programme has gone from strength to strength, with 201,211 doses having been administered as of the 7th. That's the latest data at the moment. There should be more data coming out at the end of the weekend. And some of you will know that the text alerts have gone out today, or started to go out today, for the over 50s. So it's really, really good news in Dorset, and particularly in Weymouth and Portland, that the teams here, our primary care network and our GP practices working together, are well ahead of the government plans, where other areas haven't seen the over 50s being invited yet. They have started to be invited in Weymouth and Portland this morning, so that's really, really good news. So keep up the good work, and if you've got an appointment for a vaccination, please make sure that you attend, and if you can't attend, please let them know you won't be going so that somebody else can take your place. So, some positive news there. On the police front, detectives from Dorset Police are investigating an alleged assault on Portland and are appealing for witnesses of anyone with information to come forward. Dorset Police was called by the ambulance service at around 5:50 last Sunday, the 7th of February, to an address in Castletown following a report a man had sustained head injuries. It is reported that the victim, a man aged in his 40s, was assaulted earlier in the day near Coronation Road. The victim sustained serious injuries to his head and face and was taken to hospital for treatment. However, his condition is not thought to be life-threatening. Officers attended the scene and did make an arrest, but they are appealing for residents in that area, and particularly any with home CCTV systems, to please check their footage for anything relevant to the inquiry. So that's earlier in the day on Sunday the 7th of February near to Coronation Road. If you've got any CCTV footage or any information that would be of interest to Dorset Police, please give them a ring on 101, or you can make contact anonymously through Crime Stoppers charity on free phone 0800 555 111. And keeping up the link with South West Ambulance and the ambulance service, our local ambulance service staff in Dorset are often the victims of verbal and physical assault, and the rate of assault has increased, and the 2020 figures were up by 14%, which relates to over 200 serious incidents. In January alone, South Western Ambulance Service Foundation Trust, that runs the ambulances in Dorset and across the whole region, reported 147 incidents across the whole region. 51 cases of verbal abuse, 37 cases of aggression, and 312 actual physical assaults. I'm sure most viewers would find this very hard to understand when ambulance service staff are there to help us when we are injured seriously or very unwell. Weymouth-based paramedic James Ryan has given an account of how last year he was pinned down in the back of an ambulance, then punched and thrown around and his glasses knocked off. Senior ambulance staff have asked that members of the public respect their staff and that they are there to help people, and any assaults can have a serious and long-lasting effect on their staff. Dorset County Museum has been successful in its appeal to raise £150,000 to save and display the Julius mosaic. You remember we did cover this story earlier, well, actually in end of last year when they were trying to raise the funds. The 1,600-year-old Roman floor panel showing a leopard attacking an antelope was unearthed by a team of archaeologists at Julius in 1974. The mosaic measures 2 metres by 2.4 metres and it was discovered in the grounds of Julish House and formed part of the flooring of a Roman villa. The acquisition reunites the new panel with 2 other fragments from the same mosaic which are already in the care of Dorset Museum. It's a real good news story of lots of groups of people coming together to help. The purchase was made possible due to nearly 100 separate donations from supporters both large and small. Key donations received included £50,000 from the Arts Council England and VA Purchases Grant Fund, £40,000 for the Art Fund, £30,000 from the Headley Trust and £10,000 from the Association for Roman Archaeology. Further support was given by many other organisations and individuals from Dorset and further afield, including Richard Belson, a San Francisco-based benefactor who is passionate about keeping Roman artefacts on public display in the areas from which they come. The historic piece will now be on show to the public in the new galleries of the museum as part of a £16 million redevelopment which will be opening later this year. Dr. Claire Randall, archaeologist and vice chairman of the Dorset Natural History and Archaeological Society, said, "We are absolutely delighted to be able to retain the leopard and the gazelle mosaic from Julish Villa within the area from which it originated. The mosaic is not only beautiful and one of the finest examples of figure work from Roman Britain, but is part of the story of Julish Villa and its inhabitants. There were people living in Roman Dorset with wealth, connections and exquisite artistic taste, and it's objects like this that give us a chance to glimpse of their lives." So, good news story there. Another story that we've covered before, cycling without age. Remember, that's the tricycle, or the trishaws, I think they're called, that are taking elderly people out for rides across the area. They have said, Cycling Without Age have said, "Look out Portland, here we come." You may remember that previously we've reported that Cycling Without Age on its programme. The good news is they have met their fundraising target for a new trishaw to be bought and based on Portland. But now they need some help to run the service on the island and somewhere, more importantly, to store the trishaw. If you can help, please contact Cycling Without Age coordinator Des Lockery at des@cyclingwithoutage.org.uk or on 07867 93 7700. That's 07867 93 7700. Les will be really pleased to hear from you. Managers at Dorset County Hospital are wanting local people to get involved and help them choose the images that will be used as artwork on the sides of the Dorset County Hospital's new multi-storey car park. Again, we've covered this story before, and that's really good news that parking at the hospital is going to be improved. The metal facades will be added to 3 sides of the building and feature images of local landscapes and landmarks, a theme chosen by hospital staff to illustrate the hospital's catchment area. People are being asked to vote on the pictures. Now hopefully I can get them up on the screen and I will disappear. Here they are. You can see there are 9 possible local scenes, and there is a website that you can go to place a vote. You can also get that website address from the Dorset County Hospital website. What they want you to do is to go to the website, and out of those 9 iconic Dorset images, to pick your 3 favourites, and that will help the hospital management decide which artwork will be put on the side of the multi-storey car park. The hospital gained its planning permission back in September 2020 for the car park to be built, and this is the first phase of a major development plan which will see expansion of clinical facilities, including the emergency department and intensive care unit, as well as improved parking. So that's really, really good news. What else? Oh, it's gone back up. There it is. Have another look at it. I've put it back up. So have a choose of those three favourites from those 9 pictures. Turning to other stories, other expansion plans on the same theme. Kingston Moorwood College have lodged plans with Dorset Council for an expansion. A new university hub and rural business application is part of the college's plan to diversify on the campus, a process which had already started with the creation of the Dorset Studio School and a £3.3 million animal sciences building. Proposals for a new £4.5 million building, which will go alongside the Agritech building close to Stinsford Farmhouse, will be part funded by the Dorset Local Enterprise Partnership. The planning application says the centre will serve as a university centre and rural hub, providing around 875 square metres of teaching, office and collaborative space, with the aim of enhancing the opportunities for young people in areas of poor social mobility, to enable growth in small rural business, predominantly in the area, and to provide a focus for partner universities to come together to utilise the estate and for the site to enhance its knowledge and transfer of research activities. The building will mainly be used by students in the 18+ higher education area undertaking university level studies. It will have a mixture of teaching, open areas, flexible learning, breakout spaces, together with a formal lecture theatre and cafe, and in warmer weather which will open out onto its own terrace. Comments on the planning application remain open until mid-March, so that's good news at Kingston Moorwood. Lots of building going on at the moment. Turning to Dorset Council now. Dorset Council report, or a Dorset Council report, reveals that there could be a budget gap of as much as £40 million in its budget in 4 years' time. The medium-term forecast is based on increasing income from council tax, a small rise in business rates and a reduction in other grants to the council. This year's balanced budget, which will be approved this week, allows for the overall rise of 5% in council tax, and this maintains the county's position as one of the most expensive for council tax in the country. 3% of that rise will be for the social care project in particular. The changes will mean Band D properties paying to Dorset Council, the police and fire and rescue service, on average will be £2,112.85 a year. That obviously does not include any town or parish council precepts, which are added on top of that. A council report shows that the problems are likely to get worse, with a projection of council spending over the next 5 years showing the council's budget needs growing from £303 million in total to £381 million in total by the year 2025-26. 294 million of that from council tax, and over £42 million from businesses, and 2.5 million to come from other grants. Within the current year's budget is a saving on office property costs of £672,000, which includes for the consolidation of staff within County Hall from offices in Dorset, including Southwark's House and Prince's House, together with the termination of leases at Allenview House, Fernhill and Lynch Lane, Weymouth. So lots of changes there, with the Dorset Council trying to keep council tax down, but it still is predicting significant rises over the next few years. Turning now to Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue Service. They're now recruiting for the up-and-coming Prince's Trust Achieve programme. Working in partnership with the Prince's Trust, this 8-week course will be delivered digitally for young people aged 16 to 25 who are not in education, employment or training. The programme involves a mixture of group activity sessions via video calls to encourage the participants to get to know each other and build their confidence, as well as completing tasks set by staff for participants to complete. Staff will support the young people to complete work that will lead to the Prince's Trust Personal Development and Employability Skills Certificate. Topics being delivered over the 8 weeks include digital skills, preparing for healthy lifestyle, managing money, presentation skills and career planning, as well as receiving individual support to search and apply for employment opportunities. The course will run 5 days a week, starting on Monday the 22nd of February and finishing on Friday the 16th of April. Spaces are limited, so if you're interested or know of anybody else who may like to take part in this scheme, please get in touch with Debbie Harvey at Dorset and Wiltshire Fire and Rescue on 07500 066 134. That's 07500 066 134. And our final bit of news headline this week: exercise can be just effective as mindfulness when it comes to reducing your stress and anxiety. Such is the conclusions of a recent study by Cambridge University. Mindfulness is a form of meditation, which involves focusing your thoughts and sensations, and it has become popular in recent years for dealing with stress and anxiety. But now, Cambridge University experts say that it should not be assumed that meditation will always have a positive impact. Instead, people can reap mental benefits from physical exercise. As one doctor said, the main message here is don't assume mindfulness will work. We have much more evidence for the mental and physical benefits of physical exercise. Last year, it was found that people who exercise for 30 to 60 minutes at a time for 2 or 6 hours a week recorded the fewest days of poor mental health per month. So there we go. Exercise is good for you, good for the body and good for the mind too. So, turning to the first of our main stories this week, I'm sure you will have seen in the pages of your diaries or on your calendars that this weekend we have 2 significant entries in our diaries and our calendars. One being the Chinese New Year, which fell yesterday, and Valentine's Day, of course, which falls tomorrow. I am sure you may know something about one or possibly both of these, but do you actually know what they're all about and where they came from? So this week, Janet Hall looks at this for us on the first of our reports this week, looking at Chinese New Year and Valentine's Day.
Hello. There are 2 big celebrations this weekend. The first of these is the Chinese New Year, and the second, which is tomorrow, of course, St. Valentine's. Chinese New Year. This annual celebration begins on the new moon that comes between January the 21st and February the 20th. The Chinese year will start this year on February the 12th, yesterday, and end on February the 1st, 2022, when the year of the tiger begins. The New Year, also known in China as the Spring Festival, is marked by the lunisolar Chinese calendar. This means the date changes from year to year. The festivities usually start the day before the New Year and continue until the Lantern Festival on the 15th day of the New Year. The celebrations will then officially kick off with a New Year's Eve family dinner, with fish and dumplings being served to encourage prosperity. Shu Sui, which translates as after the New Year's Eve dinner, follows the traditional feast, where families stay awake throughout the night and gather for fireworks at midnight to banish evil. Adults typically give children red packets containing money at Chinese New Year to help them avoid the evil and wish them good health. There is a long list of superstitions surrounding Chinese New Year, of things that have to be avoided on the first day of the festival. An example of these is the broom. If you sweep on this day, then your wealth will be swept away too. The other concerns crying children. The cry of a child is believed to bring bad luck to the family, so parents do their best to keep children as happy as possible. Each year, the biggest celebrations outside Asia take place in London, with thousands of people marking Chinese New Year across the capital. Colourful floats pass through the streets of the West End and Chinatown, along with dragon and lion dances as part of the vibrant Chinese New Year parade. This year, however, due to COVID-19, the celebrations will not take place in their usual way. Each Chinese New Year is characterized by one of 12 animals that appear in the Chinese zodiac. Last year was the year of the rat. This year is the year of the ox. People born in the year of the ox think very carefully before acting and are deeply devoted to their work. They have a great moral compass and know right from wrong, but like the dog, they are bad communicators. I found this interesting, so I looked up to see what I was, and I was born in the year of the pig. People born in the year of the pig are honourable, philanthropic, determined, optimistic, sincere, and sociable. I think I can go along with that. And now for Valentine's Day. So, who was Saint Valentine? The day gets its name from a famous saint, but there are several stories of who he was. The popular belief about St. Valentine is that he was a priest from Rome in the 3rd century AD. Emperor Claudius II had banned marriage because he thought married men were bad soldiers. Valentine felt this was unfair, so he broke the rules and arranged marriages in secret. When Claudius found out, Valentine was thrown in jail and sentenced to death. There he fell in love with the jailer's daughter, and when he was taken to be killed on the 14th of February, he sent her a love letter, signed, "From your Valentine." The Romans had a festival called Lupercalia in the middle of February, officially the start of their springtime. It's thought that as part of the celebrations, boys drew names of girls from a box. There'd be boyfriend and girlfriend during the festival, and sometimes they'd get married. Later on, the church wanted to turn this festival into a Christian celebration and decided to use it to remember St. Valentine too. Gradually, St. Valentine's name started to be used by people to express their feelings to those that they loved. However, a University of Kansas English professor, Jack B. Orrock, had a different theory, which was noted in the Times. Through research, he determined that the poet Geoffrey Chaucer linked love with St. Valentine for the first time in the 14th century in the work The Parliament of Fools and the Complaint of Mars. Therefore, Orrock claimed that Chaucer invented Valentine's Day as we know it today. At the time of Chaucer's writing, February the 14th also happened to be considered the first day of spring in Britain, because it was the beginning of the birds' mating season. Very appropriate for a celebration of affection. So whether or not Chaucer can be fully credited, it is true that he and fellow writer Shakespeare popularised the amorous associations surrounding the day. By the 1660s, when Samuel Pepys wrote repeatedly of Valentine's Day in his diaries, high-class Londoners were treating the belief as more light-hearted fun than a search for true love. Soon people began writing and exchanging love letters to celebrate Valentine's Day. And by the early 1910s, an American company that would one day become Hallmark began distributing its more official Valentine's Day cards. And then flowers, candy, jewellery, and more followed. And the rest, of course, is history. Here are some very old Valentine's Day cards. It's not all about St. Valentine, though. Cupid, that winged baby boy often seen on Valentine's Day cards and paraphernalia, is another symbol of this love-filled holiday, and it's easy to understand why. In Roman mythology, Cupid was the son of Venus, goddess of love and beauty. He was known for shooting arrows at both gods and humans and causing them to fall instantly in love with one another. While it's unclear exactly when Cupid was brought into the Valentine's Day story, it's certainly clear why. Now, I must go away and clear my mantelpiece to make room for all the Valentine cards that are sure to come in tomorrow. Bye for now.
Thanks, Janet. And there we go. Learn a bit about the Chinese New Year and Valentine's Day. And I hope you weren't doing any brushing up tomorrow, but I hope yesterday, and I hope your children were happy, so you don't get bad luck. And of course, if you're celebrating Valentine's Day tomorrow and you don't want to cook, why not try looking at some of our local restaurants, pubs and takeaway services that are doing their business by doing home deliveries of all sorts of different types of meal. Maybe there's something out there special that you fancy tomorrow to save you cooking and make it a special day. Our next story is an interesting one. As we try to put the programme together each week, we try to look at different things to include. Sometimes it's local news stories, sometimes it's things that are more interesting to young people or older people or with special interests. And we tried to cater for a wide range of views and interests and ages as well. We don't always get it right, but we try our best. This week's next story looks at one of our leading poets, a little bit different, John Keats, as next week it celebrates or marks the 200th anniversary of his death. So we go over to hear from Lydia, who's going to tell us a little bit about Keats and his poetry.
It was 200 years ago, on the 23rd of February 1821, that John Keats, the Romantic poet, died in Rome of tuberculosis, aged just 25. John Keats was born in Moorgate, London, on the 31st of October 1795 to Thomas Keats and his wife, Frances Jennings. Keats was a generous, likable and hard-working man who had much experience of suffering in his short life. He also had a love of civil and religious liberty. Most of his best work was done during the year 1819, when he was already sickening after an exhausting walking tour of the lakes and Scotland the previous summer. In that same year he had also been nursing his brother Tom through tuberculosis, the disease that killed their mother. But in 1819, after Tom's death, he moved to Hampstead and fell in love with a neighbour, Fanny Brawn, who was 18. By this time Keats was devoting himself to poetry, having originally trained as a surgeon following his mother's early death. He is most famous for his odes, all of which, except the one to autumn, were composed between March and June 1819. All of them ponder the clash between eternal ideals and the transience of the physical world. His most famous lines, "Beauty is truth, truth beauty, that is all ye know on earth, and all ye need to know." Although his poems were not generally well received by critics during his lifetime, his reputation grew after his death, and by the end of the 19th century, he had become one of the most beloved of all English poets. He had a significant influence on a diverse range of poets and writers. Jorge Luis Borges stated that his first encounter with Keats' work was a great experience that he felt all of his life. The poetry of Keats is characterized by a style heavily loaded with sensualities, most notably in the series of odes. This is typical of the Romantic poets, as they aim to accentuate extreme emotion through an emphasis on natural imagery. Today his poems and letters are some of the most popular and most analyzed in English literature. Some of his most acclaimed works are Ode to a Nightingale, Sleep and Poetry, and the famous sonnet on first looking into Chapman's Homer. As we approach the anniversary of Keats' death, let's hear an extract of Ode to a Nightingale, read by Stephen Fry.
My heart aches, and a drowsy numbness pains my sense, as though of hemlock I had drunk, or emptied some dull opiate to the drains, 1 minute past, and Lethe woods had sunk. 'Tis not through envy of thy happy lot, but being too happy in thine happiness, that thou, light-winged dryad of the trees, in some melodious plot of beechen green and shadows numberless, singest of summer in full-throated ease. Oh, for a draught of vintage that hath been cooled a long age in the deep-delved earth, tasting of flora and the country green, dance and Provençal song and sunburnt mirth. Oh, for a beaker full of the warm south, full of the true, the blushful Hippocrene, with beaded bubbles winking at the brim and purple-stained mouth, that I might drink and leave the world unseen, and with thee fade away into the forest dim, fade far away, dissolve, and quite forget what thou among the leaves hast never known, the weariness, the fever, and the fret here, where men sit and hear each other groan, where palsy shakes a few sad last grey hairs, where youth grows pale and spectre thin and dies, where but to think is to be full of sorrow.
Thank you, Lydia, and Stephen Fry, of course, for that reading from Keats. Over the last few weeks, we've encouraged you to get involved with the RSPB Birdwatch and the CPRE Star Count. I wonder if you actually did either of these, and if so, how you got on. I did the Star Count last week and was surprised, despite the streetlights around where I live, that I was still able to count quite a number of stars. In fact, in the measured box that you're supposed to count in, I counted 8, which was pretty good. In fact, when I submitted my information, it said that I could see more stars than 36% of the population, which was quite surprising. If you took part in either of those things, be interested to know how you got on. Do let us know. Next, we're going to hear about our intrepid virtual walkers and how they are getting on their return journey from John O'Groats to Land's End, and to learn about some of the places that they stopped off on route last week or so.
Hello everyone. I'm here today with another report from our lockdown walk. I must say it has been a tad chilly up in the northeast this week. We left Glen Eagles in a blizzard, which was all right for those who came prepared for skiing, but the rest of us suffered a bit. We took a short walk to Dunblane to see the beautiful memorial to the children caught up in that terrible shooting, and then on to Stirling Castle, which can be seen for miles as it's painted gold. We then headed for Edinburgh via the Forth Road Bridge, which we walked across and admired the view up the river, but Ali insisted on swimming back, even though he had to break the ice on the river bank. We spent a lovely day in Edinburgh, Edinburgh is Scotland's compact, hilly capital. It has a medieval old town and elegant Georgian new town, with gardens and neoclassical buildings. And looming over the city is Edinburgh Castle, home to Scotland's crown jewels and the Stone of Destiny, which was used in the coronation of Scottish rulers. Arthur's Seat is an imposing peak in Holyrood Park with sweeping views. We then rested our weary feet in the cafe at the Royal Yacht Britannia, where the hot chocolate comes with a picture of the boat in chocolate sprinkles on top. Next we set off for Dunbar, then Melrose Abbey, and then the 62-mile pilgrimage along St Cuthbert's Way to Lindisfarne, where we stood in the steps of St Cuthbert. Cuthbert was an Anglo-Saxon saint of the early Northumbrian church in the Celtic tradition. He was a monk, a bishop and a hermit, and associated with the monasteries of Melrose and Lindisfarne, in what might loosely be termed the Kingdom of Northumbria, in north-east England and the south-east of Scotland. We had a good pilgrimage in Lindisfarne, but we had to wait for the tide to go out before we could safely cross across the causeway. From there we went on to Alnwick and Newcastle, and as we were in the area we decided to pop in and visit Pam de Wavrin at Roughside, overlooking the lovely Derwent Reservoir. It was a trifle snowy there as well. This is a picture from her house, but she waved at us as we went by and offered us a nice hot cup of chocolate. From there we strolled down the coast and eventually arrived in Newcastle. It was a bit chilly there as well, so we decided to move south and went down, heading for the beautiful city of York, where we spent time in York Minster, of course. Now let's find out where we finally ended up this week from Jeff's report. So, we have ended up in Hull, and Ali has taken another opportunity for a swim. I wonder where we'll end up next week. See you then for the next report. Bye for now.
Thanks, Janet and Jeff, for the update on the virtual walk on the route back from John O'Groats to Land's End. Well, our next and last major piece tonight is a serious story, but with a comedy sort of taint to it or angle to it. Earlier in the programme, we obviously mentioned the vaccination programme, and this week Sir Elton John and Sir Michael Caine have joined forces in a new video to encourage people to get vaccinated against coronavirus. The show business giants, who are both in their 70s and 80s, have been vaccinated by the NHS, and they have recorded a comic 90-second clip to show others that getting the life-saving jab is easy and safe. The new film to promote the jab was organised by Lord Darcy, who leads the Imperial React COVID Surveillance Study Group and is a personal friend of the two stars, and it was shot at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital. So John said when talking about the filming, I wanted to take part in this film to help show people the benefits of getting vaccinated and how it helps protect ourselves and the people we love. So I hope we can all come together and do our bit in the fight against this wretched disease. The film shows Sir Elton, 73, auditioning for an advert promoting the jab. And I think it's quite funny, and it does make a point. So let's have a look at the video now.
Elton John, audition, take one.
My name is Elton John.
Cut there. Little less showbiz, Elton.
My name is Elton John.
Bit more showbiz.
My name is Elton John.
Let's go for your Michael Caine impression. Just let's see what it's like.
My name is Elton John.
Beautiful. Cut there.
The more people in society that get vaccinated, the more chance there is of eradicating the national COVID pandemic. It's really important to know that the vaccines have all been through and met the necessary safety and quality standards.
So this is the bit where you're going to have the vaccine now, Elton. So
Right.
just kind of pretend that you're having the vaccine from a nurse.
Oh,
What was that, Elton?
that was me acting.
Okay, let's cut there.
And as you can see, I'm still standing. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thanks, Elton. We'll let you know.
Oh, well, at this short notice, you won't find anyone bigger.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Michael Caine. I've just had a vaccine for COVID. It didn't hurt. Not many people know that.
And cut there. Marvellous. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
Sir Michael. Claire, let the little fella know he didn't get the job.
There we go, that's Sir Elton John and Sir Michael Caine trying to promote the vaccination and having a bit of fun as well at the same time. Thought if you hadn't seen that, you might like to see that. Now we're turning to the weather. And of course, it's been very, very cold this week. I've really struggled to get warm at all. But I wonder what the week ahead has got in fold for us. So we're going over to Alex Deakin at the Met Office to hear about the weekend weather and the start of the week.
Hello, welcome to your weekend weather update from the Met Office. Milder weather is on the way next week. The weekend, however, it is still going to be feeling pretty cold out there, thanks chiefly to a strengthening wind. Now, for many, Saturday's a fine day, dry and bright, but it is going to feel cold, and the major exception to that dry and bright theme, Northern Ireland, where we are looking at potentially some quite heavy snow for a time. Doesn't get any warmer through Saturday evening. We'll continue with some patchy hill snow and rain across western Scotland. Should fizzle out for a time, but then another weather front starts to bring more patchy wet weather in from the west as we go into Sunday. Again, the potential for that to have some freezing rain mixed in. And again, as those weather fronts just gradually edge in, the isobars remain very close together. So it's going to be a windy day again on Sunday. But it is slowly turning a bit milder. So it will be chiefly rain that we see. Some snow likely, certainly over the Grampians of Scotland for a while, but mostly at lower levels it will be rain, or possibly freezing rain. Much of East Anglia, southeast England will be dry for most of the day, but elsewhere it's turning increasingly soggy through Sunday. Yes, temperatures will be ticking up so that by the very end of the day we could be up to double figures across the west, but it's still going to be single digits for most. And again, feeling cold because of the strength of the wind. Bitterly cold then with those winds through the weekend, but eventually that milder air will win out next week. Turning damp for most places will see rain on Sunday, but some hill snow is possibly on the cards, along with the potential for that freezing rain. As I said, plenty going on. Make sure you stay up to date with the latest from the Met Office. The best way to do that is to follow us on social media.
Thank you very much, Alex. From the Met Office giving us the weekend weather. And as you can see at the end of that report, the temperatures are starting to increase. So what does it hold for us this week locally in Weymouth? Well, here's the chart for this week. You can see a much milder week with temperatures 10 or 11 for most of the week. But unfortunately, with the milder weather, the rain comes back again. So it's either dry and cold or warm and wet, and it looks like it's going to be a warm and wet week this week ahead. But I did hear rumoured just before I came on air this afternoon that the temperatures next weekend might even soar as high as 15 or 16 degrees centigrade. So that would make a welcome warm spell for us, particularly for out walking and trying to get some of that exercise. So hopefully be a bit drier next weekend with the warmer weather as well. So that's the weather. Looking at traffic and travel, there are some roadworks still on the Custom House Quay. Obviously, that's going to be there for a while yet. Wessex Water are also doing some urgent roadworks at Osmington this weekend. So if you're heading out that way, there may be some disruption on the roads. There's still various roadworks with Southern Gas networks all over the Westham area, but this week there are works also on the junction of Abbotsbury Road and Sharcroft Road, which may cause some disruption. And also Scottish and Southern are working on electrical mains on Portland Road, and this is going to continue to probably to Monday and cause some disruption. If you're travelling on the trains this weekend and for the week ahead, it's half-term week. I know most people won't be travelling, but if you have to go to a hospital appointment or something and you're using public transport, there is a bus replacement service between Castle Carey and Weymouth from Sunday through to Friday. And there are bus replacement services between Eastleigh, Southampton Central and Bournemouth from today through to Friday as well. So quite a lot of disruption on the trains this coming week. But I guess it's just as well to get these works done at the current time, and then hopefully as things start to open up again, then there'll be less works being done on the railways. The What's On section is still very, very well, there's nothing on the What's On session because nothing's happening, is it? So hopefully that will pick up soon when things start to move, and we'll be able to tell you about lots of events that hopefully be happening over the summer period. But we're going to look at film releases we have been doing in recent weeks this week. And this week it is a Walt Disney film. It's Walt Disney's Flora and Ulysses, and it's being released by Disney on the 19th of February. First of all on Disney Plus, but it will be opened up later. The film's based on the Newbery award-winning book about 10-year-old Flora, an avid comic book fan and a self-avowed cynic whose parents have recently separated. After rescuing a squirrel, which she names Ulysses, Flora is amazed to discover he possesses unique superhero powers, which take them on an adventure of humorous complications that ultimately change Flora's life and her outlook forever. Flora and Ulysses stars Matilda Lawler, Alison Hannigan, Ben Schwartz, Anna Diva Smith, Danny Pudi, and all sorts of other people. And it was directed by Lena Khan and produced by Jill Netter. Based on the novel Flora and Ulysses, the illuminated adventures by Kate Camillo, the film screenplay is by Brad Cullen, and we're going to have a quick look at it now. We're running out of time, so let's get on with it. Here we go.
Superheroes stand watch when danger closes in and save those in need. But they have one thing in common. They never show up in the real world. Until Ulysses. Every superhero comes to us with a purpose. We don't always see it at first because we don't always know where to look.
Flora! What is this?
I am Ulysses, born anew. Wholly unanticipated occurrences! Did you type this? He's a superhero. What? Do you have any enemies?
I'm here about the squirrel.
Danger lurks everywhere.
Is he?
He's flying. There was a change in the air. And the world was filling with excitement.
Who's hungry? What now? Come on, Ulysses!
People look to the skies for someone to save them. So the universe sent us Ulysses. Can you talk? Okay, that's not really talking, but still!
There we go. That's Flora and Ulysses that is released on the 19th of February this coming week. Well, we've got to the end of the programme. Just to remind you that there is a service live stream tomorrow from All Saints Church at 9:30. Tuesday evening live stream at 5 o'clock of an evening service. And this week is Ash Wednesday. There will be a live stream service at 10:30 on Wednesday morning. Don't forget the quiz tonight at 7:30. As soon as I get offline, I'm going to try and fix the Facebook feed. So if you normally join us on Facebook or one of the Facebook channels for our quiz this evening, hopefully I'll be able to get it working. If not, we'll be on all the YouTube channels, and I will post a message up for those that follow us on Facebook. So I do apologise for that slight technical failure, but unfortunately once we put the broadcast live, there's not a lot we can do about it, and Facebook have this habit of updating things, and so things stop working. You have to uninstall and reinstall them. So I hope you have a good week, a warmer week, and you'll all be here safely next week. And don't forget, if you've got a booking for your vaccination, please turn up, and if you can't go, please let them know so somebody else can take your slot. Until next week, have a safe week, and I'll see you then. Bye for now.